This is Rob Tebbutt for ID Boxing. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Alex Krassyuk of K2 Promotions. Alex, from Saudi to Sofia to wherever to here in Stratford, always a pleasure. How are you?
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here again, back to London. I have very good memories of this hotel. Very romantic place. I remember September, a couple years ago, we were here. It's like deja vu. And this Saturday, another big fight in heavyweight is taking place. Well, maybe not that big, but still big, because two big guys in the ring. And my guy is fighting on a card, supporting the main event. And he's going to be televised. And this is the man from the Dream Team, Olympic Ukrainian, who from 2012 from London, with Lomachenko, with Usyk, with Gvozdyk, with Krassyuk, and also Berinchyk, who ended up with the silver medal. So he's fighting on the same card. You see how long the introduction is. It's all about positive emotions.
It's always positive when we speak, and it's always a pleasure. I think I speak on behalf of the British boxing community that says it's always a pleasure to have yourself and whichever fighters that you're with, whether it's Oleksandr Usyk or Denis Berinchyk over here. It's always a pleasure to have you, Alex. So welcome back.
Oh, thank you so much. It's my big pleasure actually to be here, because London is my second native city, I would suggest. The first time I came to London, I was using the subway, and I went into the street in the city center and I felt like at home. So everything around was really unknown for me, but the feeling was like I'm at home. So every time I come back to London, I feel like at home. And special greetings to special people, the fans, the boxing fans in the UK. I've traveled a lot. I had some shows everywhere in the world. But that's what usually promoters discuss off camera. If you want to see a real boxing fan, you have to go to England, to the UK. If you come to the United States, well, people know boxing, people respect boxing, but it's like very segmented. If you go to Europe, well, boxing, okay, but maybe soccer. If you go to Middle East, it's different. It's like wild stuff for them, boxing. If you go to Japan, they love, but it's not like in the UK. So here, boxing, actually, this is the homeland of boxing. And when you talk to anyone, let's say in a bar, you talk to a barman, and he's quite aware. When you talk to a taxi driver, he knows what you're talking about. You can find it anywhere else in the world but in the United Kingdom.
It sounds like you're planning to relocate, maybe get dual citizenship over here in the UK.
Well, I'm not really planning to relocate, because I'm planning to stay in Ukraine. That's my homeland. That's the country I love. That's the country we are now fighting for. And within next several months, Ukraine gonna win, and we all gonna be back there for hard work, for reconstructing our country and building up the completely new European, Eastern European country, like the new Switzerland for Eastern Europe. That's what, but we will need the help of our associates, of our allies, especially from here, from the Albion.
Before we move on, it's been a little while since we've caught up face-to-face. Of course, the last time was in Saudi Arabia. Again, a place where I'm sure you now have very happy memories after Oleksandr Usyk's win over Joshua. But it has been a few months. How are things in the Ukraine? Obviously, I understand that you no longer reside there. You and your family have moved away while the conflict is going on. I don't want to dwell too much on it, of course. We're here to talk about the boxing, but how are things back in the Ukraine?
Well, it's not even polite to discuss things in Ukraine when you are not in Ukraine. My close relatives are there, my parents are there, and it's not good. Well, the war is not happening in every city, but the rockets, the missiles are coming almost every day to one or another city, and they are trying to kill the energy system of the country. Because the winter is coming, and for some reason they want normal people to suffer in cold, without electricity, with no heating, just to suffer, because otherwise Ukraine most likely gonna win on the battlefield. And it makes people stronger. Well, they suffer, but something that doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So that's the strategy Ukraine is using now. And we are all for Ukraine. We are doing what we can do, like representing our country on a world arena, drawing attention of the whole world to what's going on in Ukraine, and of course inspiring people in Ukraine, inspiring military soldiers with the boxing achievements, with sports achievements, helping them, getting the motivation to fight and the inspiration to go ahead.
You mentioned there about the inspiration and inspiring people in the Ukraine through sport. Somebody who I've spoken to this evening, you've mentioned already, Denis Berinchyk. He's over here. He's on the Fury-Chisora free undercard in a very good fight against Ivan Mendy. First and foremost, he's an interesting character, isn't he, Denis?
Absolutely. He's like when you ask, let's say, Usyk about Berinchyk, the first reaction will be laughing. They call him a crazy man. He's not normal. He's different. He hasn't got the charisma of Usyk, but he has a different charisma of a man of a bad personality. You know, like Arturo Gatti used to have, and he's fighting the same way. So he's more a fighter than a boxer, though he has all the skills of a proper boxer. But he's more a fighter. He likes to come in and find the solution in very close distance. And as a person, he's also really unpredictable. So when you ask him a question, normally you expect an answer, and sometimes he comes up with no answer, or an answer that you would never expect anyone could give for the question. So he's very interesting, and I'm pretty sure that UK fans gonna love him. As soon as they see him in the ring, the way he behaves, the way he moves, the way he comes to his opponent, they're gonna love him. And of course, his best known character is the walk-in to the ring. He's been a prisoner. He's been as the how you call him, the game, the digital game, Mario Brothers. Yeah, he's been like
with the mushrooms, I remember.
Yeah, correct. Hulk. Breaking the glass, so many so many characters, and he's the one to invent. He's the one to bring the idea, then to tell this idea to people, and then we implement this idea. He was like riding a horse to the ring. Then he was riding a bike, his motorcycle to the ring. Sometimes it looks really strange, but it's amusing, entertaining. And I remember we had a fight. It was almost an open air, but no, it was not an open air, but it was summertime, and on a horse place, and people. Berinchyk was the main event, and everyone was expecting. The ring announcer invites him to the ring. Here we go, Denis Berinchyk. So people are coming together with the camera switched on to the entrance, and suddenly he appears flying on the roof like this, like a Superman. That was a funny story, and also his idea.
Those are his ring entrances, but I mentioned there he's fighting somebody in Ivan Mendy who we're very familiar with over here for the European title. He's a European champion, only been beaten by good fighters, never been stopped. This is a hard fight for Berinchyk and an opportunity for him to show his quality on a big card.
Absolutely, yes. Ivan Mendy is the top opponent, especially on a European level. Second, he is very experienced. He's not young. He's 37, I suggest, but he went through all the challenges in professional career. Number 3, they are fighting for the European title, which is well respected here in the UK. But it's not only one title. WBO international title is also at stake. But Denis Berinchyk been fighting for it for 7 times already, and he's still number 4 instead of being number 1 top challenger. That's my appeal to WBO government, to Paco Valcarcel, and to everyone involved in WBO. We have to give this guy a chance. We have to give him a proper chance. He's not young. He's not getting younger, and he deserved it. He fought the rated fighters 2 or 3 times. He's been defending his international title for 6 times. We have to give him a chance. That's what we talked already at the ratings committee in Puerto Rico. So I just want to refresh it in your memory. With all the respect, we are part of WBO, we are the family of WBO, but please pay a special attention. Treat him with highest priority, please. I hope he wins this Saturday, and I hope he gets his chance for a world title fight, and that's why actually we're here, because we discussed the opportunities for Dennis with Queensberry, with George Warren, and we start our cooperation as the co-promoters for Denis Berinchyk since this fight.
Well, I'm sure between yourself and George and Frank Warren and your relationship with Paco Valcárcel and the WBO, I'm sure that they'll be warmly received. So maybe we can see something in the future. You never know. Now, we're here for Fury-Chisora 3. Of course, you're here for Berinchyk versus Yvonne Mendy. A certain Oleksandr Usyk is expected in London this week. Talk of an undisputed title fight, of course, is going to be swirling around this week. I've grabbed you here before you get too tired with the questions from throughout the week. How is Usyk? Been a while since I saw him. I haven't seen him since the day after he retained the unified titles against Usyk-Joshua. How is he, and when can we expect to see him this week?
He's doing great. After the victory, he came back to see his family in Spain and then immediately moved to Ukraine because he had so many things to do. His foundation is very active, helping militaries, helping common people who need help. Then we had a very good event in Los Angeles in Beverly Hills Hotel. That was a Usyk Foundation dinner where we raised money for the foundation. We had some celebrities sending greetings to Usyk, like Mike Tyson, who said that since that day he's going to be in his corner forever. President Zelensky supported the foundation, stop it, I can't, I've been in boxing for a while, so it's difficult stuff for me to recall the name of the man, the Hollywood film producer and actor, but he was also on over there. So that was a very good event, also devoted to Ukraine. So after that event, he again moved back. I think a couple of days, this Monday, he had a meeting with the President Zelensky together with Andriy Shevchenko and some other people who are supporting the United 24 Foundation, a very big foundation in Ukraine, helping also Ukraine and Ukrainian militaries, Ukrainian people, and the country of Ukraine. So Usyk is deeply involved in all the processes. It's not about his ambitions of becoming someone beside boxing, but it comes deep from his heart. He wants to support very sincerely, and he does it from the bottom of his heart. He spends his own money for constructing houses for people who has no shelter. He's raising money and directing this money to the constructions. They are buying some vehicles for bringing wounded soldiers, so they are doing good. But this is a part of boxing, just supporting the country. And he's coming here. He will be in the ringside. He will be watching this. I expect, I suppose, a good fight. But no one knows. Of course, though Chisora is our friend, we will be backing Tyson Fury because we need an undisputed. We need the undisputed, and Tyson shouldn't be afraid of Usyk. That's an advice to Tyson. I don't care whether he takes it or not, but he should not be afraid of Usyk. He should be a man. He should come to the ring, accept the challenge, and face it. And whatever happens, okay. So if you are a winner, you are. If you are not, then you have to take it, or take a rematch, or whatever. But you have to take a challenge. You have to prove that you're a king.
Reminds me of a certain interview that we did after the fight in Saudi Arabia. People who would have watched that will know what I'm talking about. We're here, of course, for Tyson Fury versus Deontay 3. Now, there was a lot of discussions, public discussions, about Tyson Fury versus Usyk-Joshua, Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk. In Tyson Fury's words, and he's not somebody I know tremendously well, probably know you better than Tyson. Oleksandr Usyk didn't want to fight. He was scared. The middleweight was scared. What were your recollections? What are your understandings of the attempt to make Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk?
Well, as I mentioned before, Tyson Fury is a random thought generator. So within one day, he can tell different media absolutely different thoughts, who's his next opponent, or whether he's retiring, or whether he's coming back. So within last 3 months, I think he retired 4 or 5 times already and came back 6 times. So it's not like something to treat really seriously. But coming back to what's his real intention is, I can explain what happened. We had a deal for 2 fights to take place in Saudi. That was an agreement. The first fight is taking place between AJ and Usyk, and the winner goes for the undisputed until the end of year 2022, until December. That was absolutely normal timing for us. Well, it was quite tight, but normal. But unfortunately, the date of the fight was shifted from 21st of July to August 20th, which left us with with 1 month gap. I mean, it was the timing was shorter, and it wasn't according to the plan. So Usyk had his training plan, his recovery plan, and this 1 month is something that he needed for the recovery. So it's not about like refusing the fight. It's just about moving the fight for the proper timing that is appropriate for the owner of 3 belts, of IBF, WBA, and WBO. So it was his objective, and it's still his objective. He became the undisputed as a cruiserweight, and he wants to make a history becoming the undisputed in heavyweight as well. So if Tyson is okay with his balls, then he has to take this challenge. There is no excuse, absolutely not a single excuse that he should avoid Usyk, because this is the historical fight that never happened before, never happened in the history of boxing, that a man in heavyweight division is the owner of 4 belts in 4 belts era. That man will become the greatest of all times. That man will become the history and 100% the Hall of Famer, and he will be like his name will be written with the golden letters in the history of boxing. So, Tyson, you don't have to be scared. Just relax, take some pills or whatever you take, and win Chisora, and ink the paper for the undisputed.
Now, you mentioned the fact that you are you're doing a co-promotion with Berinchyk and Queensbury Promotions, who of course promote Tyson Fury as well. What can you tell me about conversations between yourself, George, and Frank Warren regarding an undisputed title fight between Usyk and Fury?
We are all for that. We never discussed even a thought that this fight might not happen. Only some obstacles, some challenges like an injury or some other unexpected things, but from a logical point of view, from the point of view of a common reason, this fight has to happen. Everyone wants it. We have a partner, a very good partner from Saudi Arabia, who are willing to accept this fight and to stage this fight on the world level. So we have Queensbury, we have K2, we have Usyk, we have all his team ready and willing to go for the undisputed. So the only consent that is still pending is the consent of the WBC champion, who has to say, yes, I'm gonna take this challenge, or no, I'm afraid I'll better stay with Joyce, with Dubois, with Deontay Wilder 7 or 8th fight, whatever, but I will keep my belt and be on a safe side rather than take a challenge and go with undisputed cruiserweight and middleweight. That's it.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, while I was in Mexico, I remember speaking to you on the way back to the airport, because we were greeted by news of the IBF ordering Filip Hrgovic, their mandatory challenger, who of course became mandatory challenger by beating Zhilei Zhang on the Anthony Joshua Oleksandr Usyk 2 or Usyk-Joshua 2 undercard in Saudi Arabia. What's the latest with that? Because there's a lot of conflicting reports. You know better than myself and people watching the rules and the parameters from the IBF with regards to exemptions. Of course, Tyson Fury is engaged in a fight with Whyte. What's the latest with that?
So, first of all, we must admit that IBF came up with a letter, official letter, ordering the mandatory between Hrgovic and Usyk for the IBF. That was just a letter that was giving us like 30 days for negotiations, and Eddie Hearn, who is representing Hrgovic, said his people said that they don't want to engage in negotiations. They're gonna go straight to the purse bid. So they were asking for the immediate purse bid. Well, from a point of view as a promoter, he does what he has to do. He's doing his job properly. I think I would probably do the same if I would be in his position. If you have a chance, you have to use it. You have to squeeze whatever you can from this chance. Either you get the title, or you get the fight, or you get step aside money, or whatever you get, you have to try, or die trying. But from the point of view, from the legal point of view, or from the point of view of common reason, there is a rotational system when we go to the unified or undisputed champions. Since Vladimir Klitschko he's been holding the titles for 10 years, all three titles for 10 years, and he complied with all the mandatories, but in a specific order that was called the rotational system. When three sanctioning bodies agreed together that they are in line for the mandatories. Though the rule says that you have to comply with the mandatory within 12 months or 18 months if you are a super champion, they make a special exception for the unified championship, inspiring people becoming the big champions, unifying or the undisputed, like motivating people to go for that, because they give them some special, rendering them some special exceptional conditions, like you're gonna be defending your, let's say, WBA title once in 3 years, because we have this rotational system. You own 3 titles, so this year you go with this title, next you go with that title, or maybe 2 years. So presidents, they come together and they agree this rotational system. And after Joshua defeated Klitschko, they were keeping the same rotational system. And it had to stop. I mean, this logic had to stop only after Joshua lost his titles. So it means that IBF has to go before WBA, though WBA is next in line. So this is the only point where this logic somehow was broken. It might be an attempt. It might be probably done for reason, and we all understand what kind of reason is that. But with all the respect, we have to respect. You see how, with all the respect, we have to respect the rules and the customs of boxing. So WBA is next in line, and it's not under discussion. IBF challenger, who became a challenger just a couple months ago, in a very difficult fight and not really convincing fight, has to wait his turn. And he has to wait it with respect. Usyk waited his turn for more than 2 years. We had exactly the same dispute for WBO and IBF when we let Pulev go, when we agreed on the request of Eddie Hearn to let Pulev go before Usyk, with the condition that Usyk is going to be next. Unfortunately, there was another fight and COVID, and the big fight was discussed between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. They were expected to fight for the undisputed, and Usyk was rendered a chance to fight for the interim with Joyce, and WBO almost ordered this fight for the interim, but we pushed it hard, we struggled, and then God helped us, and probably with the help of arbitration, so the big fight was off, and the WBO mandatory was due to happen. And since that time, we had two more fights. First fight from this hotel, another one from Saudi Arabia. And now we are looking and working hard to make the third big fight for Usyk, which is going to be for the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world of all times.
So, in layman terms, are you worried at all about the IBF? Do you feel that that is going to be a problem? Will that get in the way of a potential Usyk versus Fury fight? Or do you feel that because the WBA are next, and again, reading between the lines, they have until Saturday night and to order an immediate purse bid to prevent Fury and Usyk requesting an exemption anyway? Is that correct?
Well, not really. It's not regulated somehow. We asked for the exemption, and because it's not like we're inventing anything. We are really in negotiations for the big fight, and everyone is aware of that. And Gilberto Mendoza came up with an official letter stating that WBA is next in line, so asking IBF to keep their turn, the order. If you ask my feeling, my hunch, my prediction, I don't feel like IBF gonna spoil the big fight. I think there's only one man who can spoil it. The big, tall gypsy man. That's the only reason. Everyone else is in the boat and ready to take the challenge.
What sort of timescale do you think we're looking at? Not for the fight to take place, well, of course, the fight to take place, but some kind of announcement. How quickly, if Tyson Fury, as expected, defeats Berinchyk for a third time this weekend, how soon after that do you believe that we could get close to an announcement for the fight?
I think by the end of the year, because most of conditions are already fixed. I mean, we don't need to go in deep into the negotiations, like dividing money, making all the splits, percentages, whatever. No, it's all on the table. Either you take it or leave it. So it's very simple. As soon as we say yes, we finalize the paperwork and we announce the fight. I would do that by the end of this year, because it's smart to do that kind of things by the end of the year, so our partners in Saudi Arabia have enough time to prepare this big event, to market it properly, market the TV rights around the world. I don't think it's going to be complicated to market that kind of fight. But the ticket sales are going to be also good, because they plan to make it on an open-air big stadium, and the weather should be acceptable, and many things have to come together. And so the time is very important for this fight. We are ready. We are ready to go. We are ready to. That's why Usyk is coming, to prove his intention, to prove that he's really serious in his intention to fight for the undisputed. Okay, with all the respect to Tyson Fury, he's still a human being. Very tall human being, but still a human being. Very strong, very, sometimes he comes with very unexpected things in the media, that's what we mentioned. But though he's still a human being, and if you are well prepared for the fight today, it doesn't mean you are well prepared for a fight in 2 months. There is no strongest fighter in the world unless you are best prepared for the certain 45 minutes of the fight. So I feel like we have to make it. We have to take this challenge. It's a huge fight, the biggest fight of the century. This is going to be a biggest heavyweight fight of the century. That's 100%. So let's make it happen. Well, whoever wants to help us, please help. If you don't want to help us, please stay away from it just for a couple of months. Let it go, and after we comply with all the mandatories, with all the obligations that we have in front of all the fighters, everyone's going to be happy. But let fans throughout the world, especially here in United Kingdom, see the undisputed.
If, for whatever reason, that fight doesn't take place, Tyson Fury gets struck by lightning on the way to the ring, or Berinchyk beats him and they have to have a rematch. I don't know, I saw the look in your eyes there, but anyway. What are Usyk's options then? Would it be the WBA mandatory? Would it be the IBF mandatory? Just playing devil's advocate, as we say. What would be his options?
Yeah, most likely he would have to go for the mandatories. And that's also the reason why we are asking WBA and IBF to give us the interpretation of the rotational system. Who is next? So in case Tyson Fury loses, or he's injured, or this fight cannot take place, we have to fight the mandatory next. And who is our next mandatory? Is it Dubois? Is it Joyce, whose timing is due in March, by the way? Or is it Hrgovic, who is also due already, appointed? That's why we have no idea, but we have plan B and C.
Out of those names that you've mentioned there, Daniel Dubois is the WBA, Filip Hrgovic the IBF, Joyce is the WBO. Which one is the most difficult fight for Oleksandr Usyk? Which one do you think is the best fight for Oleksandr Usyk?
Well, from a sports point of view, let's say we have nothing to do with promotions, or nothing to do with boxing business, with money, etc., etc. We are just analyzing the sports of boxing, so commentating it. The easiest fight for Usyk is Filip Hrgovic. That's the easiest fight for, not just for Usyk, but for normal heavyweight. Joyce and Dubois, I would rate Joyce as the toughest. Dubois is very close to Joyce, but he's still young, and the lack of experience is still at place. So maybe in a couple years he will be on top, but at this moment I would rate Joyce as the toughest opponent. Though they were having fight in WSB, it was a heavyweight, and it was a 5-round fight, a tough fight, because he's really strong. He's like a bull. You cannot hit him. No, you can hit him, but it doesn't change anything. So that might be the toughest option.
Now, one of the other names that was mentioned recently is Deontay Wilder. If a Tyson Fury fight couldn't happen, then Oleksandr Usyk has said that he would like to fight Deontay Wilder. Where does he fit into that picture with the mandatories, with Tyson Fury? I know it's a big fight, particularly in America. Deontay Wilder, a big name. Where does he fit in amongst Oleksandr Usyk's future?
Let's imagine we have no belts, we have no obligations, no mandatories. We would rate Deontay Wilder as number one. But unfortunately for us, and fortunately for all the mandatories, because we've been as the mandatory as well, we've been in those shoes, we have to comply with the rules. We have to respect the rules, and we have to go with that. But Deontay Wilder might probably become maybe somewhere in the middle, if he's fit, if he's ready to go, if he's well enough. Because, Deontay Wilder is very familiar with Usyk camp, because his trainer was probably the longest lasting member of a sparring team. I remember him for maybe 5 camps. So he knows everything. They have very good relations with Usyk, and he knows how hard Usyk works in the camp. So that might be a good fight as well. That might be, foot speed, boxing IQ versus a very tough right straight or hook. I don't know. You don't see it when it's flying, whether it's a hook or straight. But still, very good and interesting for the fans of boxing.
Now, somebody that you, of course, know very well over the last 18 months or so, and certainly longer than that, because I know that yourself and particularly Usyk had a keen eye on Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is discussing his return to the ring. Whyte is a name that's been mentioned for him. Otto Wallin, another name as a potential quote-unquote comeback fight. What do you make of this next period of Anthony Joshua's career as somebody who was right across from him in his last 2 fights?
Well, I think before AJ comes back to the ring, he has to put things in order over here in his mind. He has to realize that there is no reason for looking for the reason outside, rather than going deep in yourself and finding the reason where it really is. If you change a trainer, it doesn't mean you become different. Only when you change yourself, you become different. And there is no trainer in the world that can change you but yourself. So from my perspective, I'm not really deeply involved, but from my perspective as the person from boxing who knows a little bit, I would stay with McCracken. I would not be using anyone else, because McCracken been knowing him for so many years, and he knows how to put things in order under his haircut. So he knows how to treat him properly and how to put him in a proper position, because he was in his corner when he defeated Klitschko. He was an underdog, 100% underdog. No one could believe that he will knock Klitschko out, and especially after he was knocked down. But he put himself together and he made it. He committed. So it's complicated for me to Dillian Whyte is an easy fight for AJ. Now, nothing serious, like Chisora for, with all the respect to Dillian, by the way. But at this stage, I think it's an easy fight for AJ. Otto Wallin, well, as a comeback fight, maybe. I didn't see him for a long time. Who else? Deontay Wilder. That's going to be a real matchup. I think this is an option that boxing needs. If AJ comes back fighting Deontay Wilder, he rehabilitates himself after losing 2 times in a row to Usyk. And if he wins, that would put some additional confidence in his mind. Like his mindset gonna be a winner mindset, and that might help a lot. I respect him so much. I mean, he's a very nice person, a skilled fighter, good personality. I love him as a man, like as a fighter, as an athlete. Very positive personality. So I wish him good luck, and I really back him and cheering for him.
Who wins that fight? Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder?
That's why we want to see it. Again, anything may happen. Everyone has the chance. I would give... my favorite would be Anthony Joshua, because he's more skilled than Deontay. But Deontay knows how to, to get the punch from his pocket suddenly when you don't notice it, and to put it to the chin. That might happen. But normally my favorite would be AJ.
Just had a little change of card there. But anyway, one question that I didn't ask when we were talking about the mandatories was, would Oleksandr Usyk be willing to vacate a title, or is it for him about the undisputed fight? Would he vacate a WBA and IBF in order to make the Fury fight, or is that not part of his plan?
If someone has in his mind the possibility, like a thought about the possibility that Usyk gonna vacate, you're completely wrong. He will never vacate the title. He will go for the undisputed, whatever it takes him.
So he would be willing to, if Tyson Fury was to fall out of bed one morning, get struck by lightning, he would fight Daniel Dubois, then he would fight Hrgovic, then he would fight Joyce if he had to.
It's not his best love scenario, but as long as he considers himself a very stubborn person, positively stubborn person, goal-oriented, he will not skip it. He will go ahead, go through the challenges. You know how he explains, the most difficult thing about the mandatories is that no matter who you are fighting, you're still having the same training camp, like 3 months of hardest work, of your body is aching, you have pain everywhere, especially here. You're not seeing your children, you're not seeing your friends, you're staying focused, eating according to the schedule, sleeping according to schedule, training, working so hard. You become mentally exhausted. And whoever you fight, is it Tyson Fury, or is it Daniel Dubois or Filip Hrgovic, it's still the same. So when you come to the ring, it's a party. It's a party time, so because you know that after this fight you're gonna eat, drink, dance, sleep, whatever you wish. But it's tough. That's why it's not his best love scenario. But if he has to take this challenge, he would most likely do it.
How long do you think he's got left? I watched an interview that he did in the Ukraine, I think a few months ago, where he said that he ideally would have 3 fights. Yeah. Do you think that's about right for him if the stars align and everything goes how he wants it to go?
I think not more than 3-4 fights. You have to respect him. He is a good man. He has the family. And he's still young. He's just 35. 35, yeah. So he has the whole life to go. He has so many things to do beside boxing. You have to live your life enjoying it. That's what I think. A couple years, 3-4 fights for him would be enough to make his living, to achieve what he wants to achieve, to make the history, to glory his country, to glory his people, and to end up like in the history of boxing. That's what his real aim. That's what his real objective, his goal. To go for that. It's not about money. Of course, money means a lot, but not for him. I mean, he's not here for money. He's here for the glory. He's here for the heritage, and I think that's why he's trying so hard to go for the undisputed, and he will do that. He will not quit. That's 100%. It's not about Usyk. He's not quitting.
Right, last quick couple from me. I appreciate your time. I know you only got in last night. Tyson Fury versus Berinchyk 3. What are you expecting? How are you expecting the fight to go? We've seen in the build-up, they're friends, they're, arm around each other, they're hugging. It's a different type of vibe. What are you expecting when the first bell rings on Saturday night?
Normally, a normal person would say, this fight is fixed. They are friends. He's getting big money, the other one is not getting that big money. Well, they're gonna perform good performance to the spectators, so everyone sees a good show and that's it. But I don't believe it's gonna be happening on Saturday night. A fighter, has his ego. Though Chisora is not a world champion and he's not like, let's say, a top 5 or top 3 fighter, he's still on top. And he has his character, his balls, his ego, boxing ego. So I don't think he's gonna just walk around trying to lose the fight. And by the way, it's a great chance for him. If he wins, he would go for the undisputed, for the biggest money he could ever imagine in his life. So he will most likely use this chance. From Tyson's perspective, he shouldn't underestimate Chisora. He's the very big challenge. He's a very tough tester for everyone. His ugly style, I say respectfully ugly style, when he switches the stance, when he puts, I remember when he was fighting Usyk, he switched the stance to the southpaw and was like doubling the jab, which was completely unexpected. And he might invent some stuff for Tyson as well. So I expect this fight to be most interesting within first maybe 4 or 5 rounds.
Right, Alex, I've taken up enough of your time, and I know you're going to be very, very busy this week. So before I let you go, I referenced it earlier on in the interview, that now infamous post-fight that we did in Saudi Arabia, where you looked into the camera and you addressed Tyson Fury. I'm now going to give you the opportunity to do the same thing. We're tantalizingly close to a potential undisputed heavyweight fight. What have you got to say to Tyson Fury ahead of his bout with Berinchyk this weekend?
Brother, show us your balls. Not physically. Oh, please, not physically. Show how big your heart is. Come on, win the fight on Saturday. Step into the ring with Usyk, look into his eyes, and don't get scared. That's my request to you.
Alex Krassyuk, always a pleasure to catch up with you. Thanks very much for speaking to ID Boxing. I look forward to doing it again sometime soon. Thanks as always.
Thank you very much. It's my big pleasure.
Oi! Oh.